You mentioned the Spanish flu. Do either of you, because we're here at this historic time, are there any stories that you came upon going back to the Spanish flu that might be worth talking about? Or and if I'm putting you on the spot and you don't have a story about it, I apologize, but just curious.
I kind of have a trifecta. I mean, there's a personal story. So my great grandfather died. Okay, so I have a person in the family who died of the Spanish flu, but that's not the super interesting thing that I have found. One of my passions is the theme of women and wealth. And so, and again, this goes deep back into all of my years of being a historian. And so I was reading about the Spanish influenza, and I didn't realize in the past in my own past, how important women were to fighting the Spanish flu. So the Red Cross was hugely important to combating the Spanish flu. Women who were teachers, you're going to hear so many echoes of what's happening right now. Women still make up 75% of the K through 12 teachers, right? And they were probably closer to 100% in 1918. The schools shut down and women immediately retrained to be contact tracers. They would go door to door to figure out which households had the flu, and they would write it down. And they were doing this through the Red Cross, which was founded by women and mostly populated by women. The Red Cross was recruiting thousands and thousands of women to be nurses. World War I was ending, the Spanish flu was going, and suffrage was in the air, right? So then at the end of in August 1919, the women had just done an enormous amount of work nursing and raising money and creating clothes for the war. And then they'd been on the front lines fighting the Spanish flu in so many different ways. So, and then they'd had the suffrage movement going, so that finally convinced Congress to pass the 19th Amendment, which was ratified in August of 1920, and we're celebrating the centennial of that now. So you have these three things coming together. And the other thing is that the women, so you had the teachers who were becoming nurses, but the other thing is that cars were co-opted to help to combat the Spanish flu, to go around and go to the different houses to do the census taking. Well, 1918 is still pretty early for significant car ownership. And so it was the wealthy families, the women of the wealthy families who were driving. They weren't just like lending their cars, they were driving, they were behind the wheel, taking people around to do this work. So I found that kind of stuff super fascinating. And so Emily, you have a great story too, I know.